Okay, moving on to giving Apple free publicity, but it's relevant. You know what? Just to make myself feel good, I have to start with this. For those of you who are wondering, yes, Apple released a new iMac. Yes, there's many things on. I hope you didn't want a solid-state drive, because if you order one with that, it's a 4-week delay.
Well, yeah, I'm still not a fan of solid states.
I know this doesn't affect you. You've preached the anti-virtues of solid states at least a dozen times over here.
I don't know. I'm not going to rehash it. One day I will get into solid state. Right now, I just don't think it's worth the bang at all.
Nah. Well, it's interesting that results in that delay. To be perfectly honest, because it's.
Yeah. I like the new iMacs though. I mean, I think that I desperately actually need to get a new one. What we're going to do is my wife will probably end up getting. I personally don't like the iMac form factor. But my wife loves her iMac. She's had her iMac since 2006. Well, and my son has a G4, but it's so old that there's no more software that really runs on it anymore. He wants to do things for school, so I hate how, of course, a PowerPC is long gone. But we'll basically give my oldest son her existing iMac, which is an Intel-based iMac, and then upgrade her to this new iMac that came out.
Yeah, that's usually the way it works in families. Somehow it didn't work that way in my family. It was really funny. When I was, I'm not gonna say how old I was, but basically a brand new spanking computer got bought in our house, and the offer that was made to me was, you can either have this 4-year-old computer that's already set up, and we'll just install it in your room, or you can have the brand spanking new one, but you have to set everything else up yourself. And I'm like, I'll take the new one. It's like, and they looked at me, they're like, wait a minute, I didn't think that out. I'm like, no, I'll take the new one. It was clear they expected me to take the other. Like, nope, I'll take the new one. You can stay with that one for another 4 years.
Right. Well. Hey, have you noticed something also Apple related that the iMacs, at least when they first came out, the Apple site is still very much purporting the white iPhone, which I found very interesting. I did a tweet about it and saying, well, I guess we know what products bring home the bacon. Well, no, even the day that the iMacs came out, I didn't find it on the Apple front page.
That is the thing. With the exception of the Air, whenever a Mac refresh rolls out, it's done stealthily. You honestly have no clue it's happened unless you.
No, I don't disagree with that, because there are. I've seen like product refreshes, and then they would have them on the front page, but it wouldn't last forever. Maybe 1 day, 2 days. But this iPhone thing has been up there quite a long time. And another thing I noticed that Apple and themselves on their website, on the store, purport the iPhone from $49, which I know is the 3GS.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they're trying probably to sell to certain demographics, of course. But I find it interesting. Will the iPhone 4 stock eventually also be $49? In other words, what I'm asking is that price point, $49, here to stay?
It wouldn't surprise me if they do that. The same thing with the iPad, because if you go to Sam's today, you can still buy an original iPad. I honestly think that's one of the things Apple is doing from a marketing standpoint to compete with the perception of price. Going forward, it's like, okay, you can buy the latest and greatest, or you can buy the continued run of last year's model at this discounted price. And it'll always be 1 or 2 models back. It'll be here's the cheap one for you penny pinchers, so we get you into the ecosystem. I honestly do think that's going to be the case with, at a minimum, the iPad and the iPhone. I don't think you should expect that for the iPods, I keep wanting to call it the iTouch, even though Yeah, I think that's what they're going to go with, though, because those products can be supplemented, and basically they can make the money back because they make it back off of the iOS purchase. Excuse me, the iOS store purchases.
Yeah, and we're talking about the expense of things at Apple. I mean, like the SSD drive or something like that. Let me make something clear. And every OEM computer that I've purchased, and there haven't been very many OEM computers that I have purchased, because I prefer building my own computers. That shame on anyone really who wants to pay the prices. An OEM wants to charge you for memory or an extra video call. When you can go and do it yourself for far less than the price, and Apple gives you instructions on how to change the memory.
I know. All
of their products. Hard drives are a different story.
No, I know that. That is the thing in a nutshell, though. On both the Mac Mini and the iMac, why you can do it, and I've done this for people. It's not like these machines are impossible to work on. It's just, it's not take the side panel off, pull thingy, swap thingy. That's not working on a Mac Mini or an iMac. No.
An iMac, I would say, is far more difficult. The Mac Mini is quite easy to work on.
To work on a Mac Mini, you basically have to. Excuse me, an iMac. A Mac Mini, a Mac Mini, a putty knife's all you need. But on an iMac, you need basically, while you can get them at any hardware store, you need a toolbox of some special tools to be able to take that glass off, to, have the right things for those torque screws, to actually be able to get in there without doing damage.
I wish they would have a back plate or something.
That's the thing.
Let's get back there to change that hard drive. That would be a nice option.
That is my number one complaint with the iMac. That basically you can't turn it around and basically just screw out 4 screws and lift the whole center plate out, and there's the RAM and the hard drive. The thing the average end user is going to want to swap out. There's the second hard drive bay there's the primary hard drive bay, and there's the memory. And if you've ever taken an iMac apart, it's like they really are almost in that place anyways. All they'd have to do is put that back plate on, and the average end user could get inside. It's very clear they don't want them to.
Because you could make it look just as nice. I mean, the back could have just like what you were saying. The notebooks. You at the bottom of a notebook, you always have those little panels that you take off the 4 screws and pull out the hard drive. So it can be easily done on an iMac.
Yeah, I mean, you could even put a little ring lip back there that would hide the screws, except for when you're messing with them. It wouldn't be hard, but it's very clear they don't want to do it. And I don't think we should expect that to happen anytime soon with the iMac. And why not? When they can get you to spend over $3,000 on it.
Well, my biggest complaint about iMacs or any Mac at all is I think that they are terrible at designing keyboards and mice. I just don't. My mother has that small keyboard from hell that is only suitable for Smurfs, and they can keep it. I can't stand it.
You have the same complaint I stuck on here. Interestingly enough, with these, you are allowed to choose between whether you want the pad or the Magic Mouse. So it's interestingly enough, there is not a choice on there for a good mouse.
Honestly, I'd probably get the pad. If I were going to buy an iMac, it's matter of fact what I'll do, because the pad adds a gesture. But I always use different mice, aftermarket mice that I find work.
Well, no, and I think Apple is acknowledging that, because when you go on to buy the iMac on there, there's an option there where you can trade the Magic Mouse for the pad at no cost.
I would, yeah.
And I agree with you. If you're one of these people who has normal hands and not Steve Jobs' hands, it makes sense.
Oh my God! I mean, I can't. It's like this little. I go to my mom's house, and I'm like, she'll ask me maybe to do something for her on her iMac. I look at the keyboard, I'm like, man, this is terrible. I don't know how you live with this, but she's gotten used to it, and a lot of people will get caught up in it, and they can be justified. saying they like the small form factor, and they say it's nice and clean. I don't have a big bulky keyboard, and I find a way to get around and live with it, and then I guess they just come to like it because my mother, she doesn't complain at all, and I could never get used to it.
Did your Mac Pro come with that tiny micro aluminum keyboard?
No, it came with this one, the big one.
Yeah.
What, the one without the keypad?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that small one. Yeah.
That's what came with your Mac Pro.
Well, you had a choice of them, and because that one was the wireless one.
What keyboard does come with the Mac Pro? I haven't even been at Apple. And the other thing that I don't do, and I've purchased and owned several Macs in my entire lifetime, but when I can, I don't want to plug any one online store, but Amazon or something like that, you don't pay tax. Anything from Apple will give you free shipping, but you still have to pay taxes if they're located in your state. Now, that may not be for every state, but they certainly have stores here in Texas, so we get charged a tax for doing business online. So I always try to find
and that's becoming that is becoming a nationwide thing. They're trying to work out reciprocal agreements so that you're you're going to have to pay the sales tax regardless of where, and it's on the mini keyboard there, one thing that's always bugged me about it is, I wouldn't mind if all they had done is like chopped the extra parts of the keyboard off. If it was still a full-size keyboard, so it's like, okay, you don't have a number pad and arrows, but do you really need them? But that's
hey, check it out. The Mac Pro does does come with the Apple keyboard with numeric keypad. With numeric keypad.
Yeah.
And then you can also get Apple keyboard with numeric keypad, Western, Spanish, and then Apple wireless keyboard.
They always have all the languages there. The wireless keyboard is that little mini keyboard.
Is that the little one? Okay. All right. Let's see something else here.
Yeah, and to be, I understand that some people don't like it, and the thing from my point of view, the thing that I can't stand is any more wires. So
and that's the thing. More and more, because that's the wireless keyboard. That's
never mind. Hey guys, I have to take it back. If I do try to buy an iMac online, you can order it with the Apple keyboard with numeric keypad.
Yes.
You just have to select it here, and there is no additional cost, so that's good.
Yeah, okay. You can do it, but it's the wired keypad. That's the thing, and there's a number of people like Phil that's their stance. So the keyboard that's become a sign. Why Apple shrunk this wireless keyboard like that, I have no freaking clue. Because, okay, fine, it's a wireless keyboard. There's still no reason for it not to be full size. And I think it honestly just depends which type gesture you take. Maybe me and Bit are being bitchy about it because we both have big hands. It's I'm not a small person. I'm over 6 foot tall. It's what is the frickin'
question here, and this is an Apple user asking a question.
Yeah.
Apple Magic Mouse, option 1. Magic Trackpad, option 2. Apple Magic Mouse plus Magic Trackpad.
Yep.
And then, fourth option is Apple Mouse. What the hell is an Apple Mouse?
It's the old mouse.
Oh, they still offer that then?
Yes, they still offer it if you're an Apple purist and you want it.
Both suck, so I'm not interested. But I'm waiting. Nice and keyboard.
I'm waiting for option 5, the good Apple mouse plus full-sized Wi-Fi keyboard. Because you have to buy that aftermarket. It's like plenty of companies make it, but you can't buy it from Apple.
The Apple remote, it used to be this little tiny thing, and now it's like this monster of a product. It's like huge now. The Apple remote used to be this little tiny thing.
Speaking on accessories, Sean, and add-ons, what do y'all think about the fact that applications are like one price if you buy them pre-installed, and they're literally less than half the price if you buy them from the App Store.
Say again?
If you go to Apple's site, like if you go to buy any Mac or you go to Apple Store or whatever, and you say, yeah, I want to buy that brand new machine and I want it to come pre-installed with this piece of Apple software. You would pay full price for it, pre-install, but if you take the machine, no pre-install, and you buy it off of the Apple App Store, the marketplace that they're trying to push, it's less than half the price. Like Aperture is a good example. Aperture is $199 to add it to any Mac pre-install. It's $79 to buy in the online app market.
Oh, they're charging you the labor difference, maybe. Who knows?
Well, I mean, the thing is, as well, I'm guessing that's probably the obviously we don't know if people if we don't know anyone who's had it pre-installed, but I'm assuming that they would have a box with a disc with it. So if that's the case, that might be the reason. But if not, then it really is questionable.
And I'm going to have to concede a bit on that. It's you've bought way more Macs than me. When you buy with pre-installed, do they give you the disc or do they just have it? Yeah, that's on your system. We didn't give you a disc.
I've never purchased anything pre-installed. I don't know.
Okay. Because that would be interesting to know. It's like that's one of the reasons I don't like pre-installed software, to be honest. Because usually when I buy
if I recall, iLife was on the installation CD that I had a while back. It's been a while since I purchased a Mac.
Okay.
I think it was on the installation CD, if I'm not mistaken.
I just think it's interesting because, I mean, it's clear that they're trying to push everybody away from buying software for a Mac anyway, other than this.
Oh yeah, did you hear that they're making buying from the App Store or going through the App Store the preferred method? And I did on Twitter, I said, yeah, so long as it doesn't become from preferred to required, I'll be okay.
Oh, no, but see, I think what they'll do for the next year or two is like what they're doing now. Well, if you don't want to use the App Store, you can just pay 300%. Which is...
They can't do that. How do they do that? If someone just sells a box in Best Buy, how do they prevent you from installing on
No. I'm just saying, basically, it'll be a fire sale in the App Store. And it'll be, you'll have to, like right now, it's like $200 versus $80. That's literally almost 2/3 off. Just for going where they want you to. You know, that's one hell of a price difference there. And I guarantee you, there's no way they have that kind of cost difference. Even if they're having somebody install that, even if they have a son.
It says $79 here for iLife, and what is iLife, $49 or something, $30 an hour to maybe install it. I don't, people pay for the convenience. Look, I can't argue when people want to pay for convenience. That's their prerogative. I mean, they want to do it, fine. So it's just like I listened to a podcast where the actual host was arguing in favor of having Apple pre-install extra memory for them, and it kind of shunned the guest they had on and saying, I like to go buy it aftermarket. And they go, oh, really? You would buy memory aftermarket? Shame on you for doing that. Just have it with Apple. It's good. You're gonna have less problems. I think it's totally fallacious thinking. I mean, but if you do want to pay for the convenience and you're a user that
honestly though, with some of that, especially with the Macs, you honestly have to look at how much money are you really saving. And the reason I say that, I'm set up to work on iMacs and Mac Minis. It's not going to have to go buy anything to do that. I have all the tools in my little tool thing over there to just go. I can do that in less than an hour. So it's not like it's a big deal for me. Now, granted, my time is not free, but still, the difference between what I'd say, I'd save considerably more than the $50 to $150 an hour my time's worth, especially in the quantities I would be buying memory to do that. But if you don't have all of those tools, and you're going to have to actually go down to your local hardware store and buy them, or go to some Mac Fanatic site and buy a iMac toolkit or whatever, you honestly have to look at that. It's like, okay, am I going to do this enough times to eventually make my money back, or is it worth it just to pay Apple's ungodly price for RAM? Because I mean, some of these tools are not, you know, $20 here, $30 there. It's like, well, like this suction cup's $10, but it might drop the glass, so I want this one. You know, like that adds up quick. It really does. And I think that's one of the reasons, like you were saying, they built it that way. So.
Well, just to add, because when I was getting mine last year, I did consider getting an iMac for a short period, but what you're just describing there, the whole thing of having to pull it to pieces, and I've seen videos of like people doing it, and that it's not, you know, an easy job to do. You know, if you're not really knowing what you're doing, and so from my point of view, that's why I went for the Mac Pro, was mainly for the accessibility point of view, because then may hopefully 75% of the things that will go wrong I can deal with myself, which with the iMac obviously
and Apple seems to be getting the message in that regard, because the new Mac Mini, you can at least get to the memory easily. You can't get to the hard drive, but you can get to the RAM easy, which a big step forward.
I used to be against, long ago, a mid-tower, but I have so changed my mind on that a while back that there is a tremendous amount of users saying, man, I cannot stand the iMac, I don't want it, but I don't want to pay the price of a Mac Pro. Please give me a box design that I can open the side, that I'm somewhat of a pro user, that I like to upgrade my own memory, I like to upgrade my own hard drive, and I just don't want to pay $2,500 just to do it. You know, they give me something the price of an iMac as a mid-tower, and I think that they would sell a lot of those.
Well, it needs to be a little less, but see, that's the thing. I don't think Apple wants to sell those, because
obviously they don't. But I think, oh boy, it'd be great. I'd be all over that.
It'd be great for the user, for the users. I don't think Apple would like it. They'd go, oh no, damn it! People are upgrading their machine instead of buying the latest and greatest iMac every 18 months. Well, no, and honestly, that's the thing I don't like about that, because the screen's great on the iMac, but depending what you're doing, do you really need that high in the screen? You know, or is it behooves to you to maybe save $300 on getting an equal resolution, not as high a contrast ratio screen that's instead of and some of these bottom bin, I mean, if you've gone and priced monitors lately, I mean, God, the contrast ratio on some of these bottom bin monitors is 1 to 35 or 25 million or 35 million. They're ridiculous. You know, I mean, they're 1920 by 1080. They're not that, oh dear God, higher resolution, but how many people honestly need that is the thing. And it's like, $100 monitor versus $1,000 monitor, you know, that's a lot of money. It's like,
right.
On that note, while we're talking about graphics, I have a conspiracy theory here, and I don't know if y'all want to run in on this. I don't think Macs are going to be using. I think Macs are going to begin switching back to AMD graphics.
Well, yeah, you know, AMD before, and they've done NVIDIA, and they've gone back to AMD. You know, they've been in both places a couple times. Whatever. I think whatever deal they get is the deal.
I don't see. Unlike the other times when they've traded, I don't think it has anything to do with the deal. I think it has to do with that stupid spider screen error in last year's MacBook Pros. I think they can't get the NVIDIA drivers straightened out, because I've noticed this like across the board. Every refresh of systems, they're just removing NVIDIA. You know, they're going AMD. I'm like,
I've always been an AMD fan, man. Now I'm going to get flamed by all the NVIDIA fans. Oh well. I've always been an ATI fan.
I prefer NVIDIA, but these NVIDIA issues with the Intel onboard graphics are getting a little ridiculous. Unfortunately, why it's not purely NVIDIA's fault, the end result is it's creating issues in that ecosystem, and NVIDIA needs to either, if they want to write their own drivers, fine, or they need to open things up a little bit more, whatever. But this needs to be addressed. So
Right.
it can play nice, because I'm sorry, going forward, all these Intel i5s and i7s are going to have these NVIDIA chipsets, these Intel graphics chipsets on board, and you just need to be able to live nice with those. It's good or bad, right or wrong, whose fault it is, it's the reality of the situation. Speaking of the processors, it actually makes sense in this run of the iMac, if you're an Apple person, to buy the i7. It was a complete waste of money before, but it actually makes sense now, because they're using a 2-pipe i7 instead of a 3-pipe i7, so there's no wasted cycles. They're 1333 capable chips, so it actually makes sense to do the upgrade. I don't know who to give credit for this, whether it's Apple or Intel, because this run of Intel CPUs are 2-pipe, not 3-pipe. So, I don't know. It makes me wonder if the next run of Xeons are going to be 2-pipe instead of 3-pipe. You think Intel?
I don't know. I don't like talking about Intel. They bore me. But I mean, I know that they've come out with the only credit I'm going to give Intel is their 3-dimensional transistors. I think that I'll give them credit where credit is due. As far as them thinking that they're going to take on risk in the mobile area, just because they're hoping by 2012 to get to 20 something nanometer. They have another thing coming because risk through ARM and IBM is going down to 14 nanometer, so that they can go shove it somewhere else. I want complex instruction set computing marginalized once and for all. So.
Interesting that all of this stuff is happening in 2012. Everything by 2012.
It's for me because I see so much potential, because Oracle is taking Sun Spark big time places because of the Itanium failure. I don't know how much more HP is going to try to hold on to Itanium, but that's gone. Xeon, that means that all that's left is Xeon, and Xeon has no hope of taking on Spark or Power from IBM. So pretty much, I think top enterprise will all go to Let's Begin, as it should be. And that
I have my concerns on that, not because I don't think it's a good thing, but that's going to create a divide between consumer and high-end. And
there should be. I was arguing that something that I noticed about Apple is that the Pro has been incrementally, bit by bit, been leaving Apple. Now everything, but people argue me, oh, well, it's good. They're becoming more consumer-like. What is it like? What would you consumer?
Well, here's my concern. Okay, one of the advantages that came with Pro and high-end, more money than sense consumer using the same stuff was that there was this spillover for the in-between people. In that they were kind of allowed to live in both worlds. Once you draw that line in the sand, depending how the software is written, that's not necessarily going to be possible anymore. So it's going to be, damn it, I can only afford to be an enthusiast, and I can't afford to be a pro, but I really need pro. It's like you're going to have...
So let's be clear. What Intel is doing now for the so-called Mac Pro, which I consider my Mac Pro generation, which is 2 generations back, to be the last of the true workstation definitions by its architecture. DDR3 and having a Xeon does not denote anymore a workstation by my definition. I mean, Intel in itself, in terms of the hardware, has dumbed it down. Instead of taking memory elsewhere, and it could be where Apple could just say, well, you know what? Since Intel's not really giving us a true sense of let's offer a different step, like or something else.
Say what you just said again.
Xserve and have Xserve work with IBM and put Power 7 chips in the Xserve, so that Apple can have a really powerful server running it. OS 10 can run all of the all power, power trips, and Spark and language stuff. Can run all of it.
Now,
what you're worried about is you're saying, okay, well, it's going to create a lot. If we can get this out there, it's cheaper. That's what we do. And the thing, ARM is not a chip maker; they're a chip designer. So that means Intel is going to be in trouble as soon as they decide to enter the desktop realm. It's Samsung, Fujitsu, whomever, AMD, which AMD is considering entering the ARM world.
What is going on with your mic?
So bam, we're in business.
Hopefully all of those points got through, because every time you were talking, you'd like, regular.
It's Skype. I don't know what's wrong. Alright, here's what I'll say it again. I'm just saying is that ARM, if once it enters the desktop, it's not a chip maker, it's a chip designer. And that many manufacturers. Am I breaking up again?
Yeah.
I get feedback because I can tell the feedback.
Yeah, you just you start talking like a really underpowered chipmunk. No, I get what you're saying, and I hope that's true. It's just I'm not a software developer, and you are, so correct me if I'm talking out of my
head. Now, can you hear me?
And now I hear all the air, too.
Well, I don't get feedback. Okay? I'm getting feedback with the other mic. So maybe I may sound worse, but at least it's not going to be choppy.
No, it's choppier, because the end result from the over air is, I guarantee you, most people aren't going to be able to hear a word you're saying.
You know, all this is running through my Windows 7 machine. I wonder.
It's Windows 7 broken. We're going to say that. You should be using Linux. If you were using Linux, everything would work perfectly.
It's fine. I know all their Intel supporters are going to come up there and start babbling on about.
Well,
there's a place. I don't want CISC wiped out. I just don't want it ruling the day as it has for many years.
Well, no, and like you say, there's far less competition, so the fact that Intel's dumbing down a lot of things, it's not like they get penalized for doing that, because, I mean, okay, I still got to buy the Intel. But my concern is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a software developer, but depending how software is developed, if it's looking for certain architecture, are it's favoring, I mean, would the same software run equally well if, say, Apple suddenly switched platforms from Intel to some type of RISC system?
Well, right. What they did before is they used a universal binary that you have to compile to. It would require recompiling to a universal binary. And many programs were for a long time, for many years. As a matter of fact.
Okay, but until
not many years.
But say I have
2009.
Say I have Pro Software version 3.1. Am I going to have to wait till Pro Software version 3.12, which is the recompile,
that's up to the programmer. Going from a 3.1 to 3.12, to me as a programmer, to note that I've made some changes or enhancements.
I should have said 3.2, but yeah, but basically, is it in order for that software to perform as well? Is that update going to need to be made?
Yeah, it's gonna. They could either just immediately say, "Okay, we just recompile their software with universal binary."
Well, no, and with most of the pro software companies I'm thinking of, I'm not going to name any of them, but they wouldn't give you 3.2. They'd go new version 4 that supports this, and you'd have to buy everything again. And that's the thing I'm a little concerned about there.
I mean, I think that it's happened before, and I think Microsoft has a roadmap for obviously saying they're going to support ARM with Windows 8, and they have a way of migrating data, but I can guarantee everything's going to be recompiled anyway. Look, if Mac OS X is expecting to take iPhone applications on board, those are going to have to be recompiled if they're going to stay Intel. So, I got in a debate about that. I'm saying, well, I think Microsoft has a head start in saying that Windows 7 is going to run ARM, because I think that, I don't know, for some reason I feel that Microsoft will have an easier time saying, fine, here's a universal binary package, and you can move all this software over. In other words, the incentive could be there to do it, versus an iPhone app that costs $2. Will the app developer do it? Maybe.
Okay, I hate to poo-poo on that, but you're talking about Microsoft, the company that made their 64-bit incompatible with their 32-bit. So do you honestly think they'll embrace the idea?
On Windows 64 runs fine for me. I am not having any issues with 64-bit running 32-bit on Windows 64.
Okay.
Now, Windows has other issues.
Oh, many. But that's a topic for PC versus Mac, yes. not for the iWorld. There are many issues over there. Okay, I guess wrap up. Honestly,
did we cover everything? Is that everything?
Let's say we covered the SSD, we covered the processors, we covered the graphics. We covered the keyboards. Oh, did we ever cover those stupid keyboards?
Hey, have you ever held that puck of a mouse that Mac used to make us?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I've played hockey with that. No, I'm serious. We were playing street hockey one day, and I saw, and we didn't have a puck. And I said, "You care about this?" I said, "Hell no." We just ripped the cord out.
All right, wait, one item you said. So is it worth the $3,386 for?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get into. I'm like, is this new iMac worth it? Honest assessment.
Wow.
You are Apple people. That's the
I could never bring. I don't know, man.
That's the i7. That's the i7 with the hard drive upgrade. And buying the Apple Care and the one-on-one.
Oh, you don't have to buy the one-on-one. You're just adding. That's personalized training. The one-on-one. But that's $99. Fine. Make it $3,300 then. Back in the day, we paid a premium for Macs. I'm saying before Intel, they were expensive back then, but to me, they were very well worth it. You can call me biased, and yes.
Oh yes, I'll call you biased.
Intel and all that other crap, fine. All of my machines here are Intel anyway. You do what you do. But the thing of it is that I do notice that back in the day, when Macs were running PowerPC, I don't know, they ran like the engine that could. When they start switching to Intel, I find more flakiness, if you will. Maybe it's the software. I don't know. I find it flakier.
It might be the software, or it might be some other weird things. Who knows? It's not a bad machine. I'm just not sure it's worth the over $3,000.
Man, $3,000 for an iMac. Oh man, see, number one, I don't like the form factor, but I'm trying to put my stuff in the shoes of.
Yeah, and again, this is the i7. But
all right, so you selected the 27-inch, right? And
yeah.
$2,000. And let's see here. You upgraded to what? 16 gigs of RAM? What would you upgrade to?
Let me come in here. How did I do? I put the i7 in.
Oh, okay. Not the i5. All right, it's $200.
Yeah. I upgraded to the 2 terabyte.
2 terabyte.
I did upgrade the graphics because you're going to have a hard time as an average end user doing that.
You did the 2 terabyte solid state? Well, that's it.
No. 2 terabyte serial ATA drive.
Oh, I thought you were saying plus SSD on the notes there.
Actually, yeah, I did, because the Apple's pushing the solid state. So let's look at the difference there. Actually, let's go over that fairly.
Oh, I was reading it wrong at first. I was like, wait a minute, a 2 terabyte solid state drive, and then I was like 2
No. You get a 2 terabyte primary and then a 256 gig solid state secondary, which admittedly is not a bad combination for.
Yeah, I think people should use a hybrid. Again, if you use a hybrid situation, solid state has a good place for you. I mean, it can handle everything else.
You were asking, did I upgrade the memory? No, that $3,000 is basically you can do one of two things. You can either upgrade the hard drive and get the 2 terabyte solid state combo, or you can upgrade your memory.
What is the big difference between the i5 and the i7, really? I forget. It's that throttle control is number one, right? And
it's the turbo frequency, and look at the. I gave you the links there to the two chips, the 3.1 and the Sun. The main difference here is the 3.1 is 5 GTS, gigatons per second. It has a 6 megabyte cache, and the i7 is still 5 cent, but it has an 8 megabyte cache versus a 6 megabyte cache. So it's about 20 to 30% more in terms of CPU cycle, and it has a bigger cache. So it would be more efficient computing.
Okay. Well, 3,000's a lot.
Yeah, well, and like I said, for that $3,000, you still only have 4 gig of memory. If you really want to take advantage of this,
here's my configuration. I did 3.4 on the i7. I did 8 gigs of RAM. I did the 1 terabyte SSD combo. The 1 gig of DDR5. AppleCare. Okay, if I add AppleCare, I'm now at $3,168.
Yeah, it's like you're going to be spending $3,000 plus on this system if you really
want AppleCare. If I don't, then I got it under $3,000. I mean, still though, it's an. I'm not a fan of the iMac. I mean, I guess if I really like the form factor.
Yeah, I'm just not sure it's worth $3,000 is the thing.
I don't know. I'd look at this even if it were another like a custom build, and the way I usually buy computers, I get excited, but I usually end up coming down to earth and saying, is my software going to take advantage of this? And if I have 16 gigs of RAM, what is my software going to do with it? I have an emotional burst of saying, wow, this is so cool. I'm not an Apple person. Honestly, with the resources modern systems are using, I would recommend to anybody who's going to go buy this thing. First, I say look at something else. But then, if you're not going to do that, get the 8 gig because you're gonna. And unless you have the tools, it pains me to say this, but in the case of the iMac, it actually does make sense to spend that $200 on the DIMMs because the amount of money you would save buying 8 gigs of memory versus what you'll spend buying all those, you're not going to be money ahead, unfortunately, unless you're just a geek and like to do it, or you have a friend who you can bum all the tools off of, then it's not. But the 16, unless you are the multitasker from hell. No, not even that. I don't care how much multitask. See, that's what people don't even understand. Multitasking is not. Look, people don't understand that multitasking is a very large plethora of functions. Multitasking can be task switching, but what they're after is concurrency. You don't do a tremendous amount of concurrency in today's computing. Now, if you are and have serious applications that do need concurrency and can use parallel threads, then that RAM comes into play. Yeah. Even at 16 gigs, man, I still stay hard pressed.
It honestly depends what type of stuff you're doing. I have seen people that can use 10 to 12 gig. I have. They're very far and few and in between. But the people who are those people, they know they're those people. And if you have a question, am I one of those people? The answer is no. You're not one of those people.
I'm not even with all the compiling I do, and I do video editing. I still don't max out the RAM.
Yeah. Well, the type of things that would be doing this is like systems
Now,
that are.
I don't do video. I mean, I use Final Cut Studio. I'm not a pro at it or anything, and I don't.
Oh yeah. And for so wait a minute.
I don't find it maxing out.
Well, wait, but you already have a disc. You know.
What?
Yeah, you already have a disc. I was gonna go. Did you add Final Cut to your Mac to your price?
Of course, I added Final Cut.
Okay.
I have a whole Final Cut Studio. Sweet. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you the two Macs that are going to be coming, the two new additional Macs, are going to be the iMac for my wife and a Mac Mini. Because what I want to do, I'm finding more and more, is that my bedroom is the only room in my house cut off from the internet. I mean, you can go in there with a laptop. I mean, you get the Wi-Fi signals, but all the TVs pretty much, the main TVs in my house are connected to my media server. And I want to take my existing Mac Mini set, attach it to my bedroom television, and then replace it with a brand new Mac Mini for my living room television. So the Mac Mini is definitely going to be a purchase, and then an iMac.
Yeah, you have different priorities than me. I try and keep all of that shit out of the bedroom. I have other priorities in that room.
It's not my idea. It's not my idea. If it were my world, it wouldn't be that. And I'm not reversing myself here. The predominant reason is my wife really does enjoy snuggling up in the bed and watching television there. I like getting on the couch in the living room, watching TV from the couch. That's why I don't like getting in bed. If I want a snack or something, or a drink, I don't like snacking in my bed or.
No, I'm with you. Okay, quick wrap
the audio
up.
out?
It got bitty for a minute. Quick wrap up before we get off. Phil, would you? Unfortunately, I don't have the variety of Macians who actually like the iMac, but $3,000, is it worth it?
No, well, you're already paying a massive price for picking up customization, so no.
I don't hear anything.
I hear plenty of air from you.
You are so faint to me right now. Skype is such a pile of crap.
Yeah, and on that note, we're going to talk about our Skyping issues, but for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off.
I'm so aggravated at the Skype thing.
Hopefully a PCV Mac gets done this week, but no guarantees on that. Okay, everyone, peace out.
So